Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. Today, you are listening to episode 69 of Talking Blue. I'm your host, Nick. We are here today to recap Game 2 of the National League Championship Series, where the Dodgers took Game 2, so they now have a 2-0 lead in the series against the Milwaukee Brewers as they head home to play Game 3, which will be tomorrow night at the time of this recording. So, very exciting stuff. I'm going to recap the game. I'm going to recap some of the stuff that happened. Of course, Yamamoto was amazing. So, as always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick. And you can follow us on Reddit as well at competitive-week8715. Turn on the notifications on YouTube, all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I'm going to recap Game 2 really quickly for those of you who may have not seen the game. Then I'm going to talk about Yamamoto, a little bit of the offense, and then some of the, historic pitching numbers that are going on right now with this pitching staff. And then I'll quickly turn it over to looking ahead to Game 3. So it'll be a little bit of a quick pod. Isn't a whole lot to talk about, but I'm going to try to keep it pretty quick today. And then, of course, look forward to Game 3 tomorrow night. Yoshinobu Yamamoto taking on Freddie Peralta. Dodgers would not score in the top of the first, and the Brewers would. Jackson Chourio, on the very first pitch that Yamamoto throws, a fastball right down the middle. He hits it out to right center field, right field. Jackson Chourio has some crazy opposite field pop. He's only 21 years old. Right away, the Brewers take a 1-0 lead. Yamamoto would put the next 3 hitters down in order to get out of that inning. We'll go to the top of the second after a Max Muncy pop-up. Teoscar Hernandez hits his 4th home run of the postseason. He hits a long home run to left field, got a hanging slider from Peralta, immediately ties the game up. Kike Hernandez comes up and hits a single up the middle, and then Andy Paz with 2 outs, his biggest hit of this postseason so far. Actually, it's only his 2nd hit. He doubles into the right field corner, a nice piece of hitting. Kike comes all the way around to score. Right away, the Dodgers take the lead right back, and it is 2-1. Skip all the way to the 6th inning. Freddie Peralta is 1 out away, 1 strike away actually from getting through 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. Max Muncy, his first home run of the postseason, he homers to dead center, a solo home run just like Teoscar, to give the Dodgers a 3-1 lead. It was actually put him in first place all time for the Dodgers' most postseason home runs. So that was pretty cool. So the Dodgers go up 3-1. Yamamoto is cruising at this point. He gets through 5, 6, 7. Later on in the 7th inning, after another Kike Hernandez hit, he doubles into left field. Andy Paz, credit to him, another sac bunt. 2nd straight game with a sac bunt. Then the Brewers make a pitching change from Abner Uribe to Aaron Ashby to face Shohei, and then he actually gets his first hit of this series and his first hit since Game 2 of the National League Division Series. He singles into right field off of, like I said, Aaron Ashby to make it 4-1. All the way to the 8th inning, another little bit of a rally by the Dodgers after a after a Will Smith single and a Max Muncy walk. We have a Tommy Edman single into right to make it 5-1. The Dodgers would actually load the bases in the 9th inning with no outs, but weren't able to get a run in. And so the score remains 5-1. Of course, Yamamoto goes back out for the 9th to try to finish off a complete game. He gets William Contreras to fly out, Christian Yelich to ground out, and he strikes out Andrew Vaughn. Dodgers win 5-1. They beat the Brewers, and of course, like I've said multiple times, take a 2-0 lead in the series. Yamamoto was amazing. Like I said, we don't have to go through all the pitchers who pitched in the game because it was one man, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 9 innings pitched. For the Brewers, Freddie Peralta, 5 2/3. He pitched solid, but obviously gave up the 2 solo home runs. Abner Uribe, the second time in this series that he's already pitched, and he allowed one earned run. That was on the Aaron Ashby single. from Shohei. Also saw Tobias Myers, Robert Gasser, and then Garrett Anderson also pitched. So really the only pitcher the Dodgers are yet to see is pretty much Jacob Mizorowski from the Brewers. They might see Jose Quintana in Game 3, but we'll get to that stuff. So, of course, what we're going to start off and mostly talk about, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I wore my Yamamoto jersey in the last pod because he was on the mound. Today I'm actually wearing a Mookie Betts City Connect jersey because shout out to Mookie Betts. He was nominated as a finalist in the National League for the Gold Glove for shortstops. So he's amazing. And first year playing shortstop, he's a Gold Glove finalist. So we're honoring Mookie with our Mookie Betts jersey today. But the man of the hour, the man of this pod, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So I'll give you his final line. 9 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Obviously, the 1 home run, the 1 earned run was on that home run to Jackson Chourio. Incredible season by him, and he's off to a really good start in this postseason. Even with a little bit of a shaky start against the Phillies, he was really good against the Reds, carved up the Brewers in this game. So Yamamoto goes 111 pitches. Like I said, it was a complete game. First complete game in the postseason since 2017 when Justin Verlander did that against the Yankees. And it's the first complete game for the Dodgers in the postseason since 2004. So over 20 years from the last time we saw a Dodger pitcher throw a complete game, Jose Lima. So that is pretty amazing. Yamamoto, obviously, the night before, Blake Snell went 8 innings. There was a chance he could have went back out for the 9th, but he didn't. Kind of a controversial decision, but he didn't go back out for the 9th, and it looks like Dave Roberts kind of learned from that. Sent Yamamoto back out there. I don't really think it had anything to do with the night before. I think it was more that it was a 5-1 game instead of a 2-1 game or a 2-0 game. So I think that was the decision. Yamamoto, I think he only had about 98 pitches through 8 innings. Finishes with 111. So even though he went a complete game and did throw a decent amount of pitches, 111 is not insane. He didn't get into the 120s or anything like that. Of course, just like Blake Snell, the fastball velocity was up from where he is in the regular season, 95.4 in the regular season, 96.3. He got up to 97.8, which is 98 on the TV. Yamamoto is actually someone who the velocity holds pretty consistent the entire game. Like I said, he averaged 96.3, and you don't really see like many 98s, but you also don't see a lot of like 93 or 4s. He literally sits 95 to 97 for the entire game. Even in that final inning, he was still throwing pretty hard. Something that we see Yamamoto occasionally do, but not too much, is throw his splitter more than his fastball. For the most part, it always is the fastball as the most often used pitch, but every once in a while he will go to the splitter more, and he did in this game. 31% splitter, 24% curveball, 24% four-seamer, also threw 11% cutters, 8% sinker, so he brought the whole kitchen sink, and he also mixed in 2 sliders. A lot of splitters from Yamamoto. He obviously, like I said, he had 15 whiffs. 8 of them came on the splitter. It was really nasty. He was getting whiffs on right-handed hitters and left-handed hitters. Of course, Yamamoto is always going to get them against the lefties because that's the trademark pitch for a right-handed pitcher who throws splitters. You're going to throw that pitch against lefties. But when Yamamoto is also getting whiffs on that against right-handed hitters, which he typically does do, but when he's getting both of those, it's going to be a long night for the opposition. And Yamamoto obviously is one of the best ground ball pitchers in the game. Obviously, when you pair ground balls and strikeouts, that's really big, and really, that's a big reason why pitchers you'll be successful. Yamamoto had 14 ground ball outs in this game, so not many fly balls, and he didn't obviously, rack up a bunch of strikeouts. Only 7 in this game, like Blake Snell in Game 1 had 10, but he's still, 7 is still pretty good, and the 15 whiffs is pretty good. And when you pair that with all those ground ball outs, that's, probably the biggest reason why Yamamoto was able to pitch a complete game, because he didn't have a lot of stressful innings or a lot of long innings. The ground ball thing is really massive. I've said this before, but every pitcher is kind of different. There are pitchers who are strikeout pitchers, fly ball pitchers, ground ball pitchers, and it doesn't necessarily mean there's one way to go about it or one way that is better to be successful. But when you compare ground balls and strikeouts together, it gives you a lot of avenues to be successful. Because when you get traffic and when you get runners in scoring position, runners on base, obviously a ground ball can help you get out of an inning with a double play ball, and the same thing with strikeouts. You can take the luck out of the equation and just strike hitters out. When you're able to pair that together, you're going to be one of the better pitchers in the game. And it's also why Blake Snell has been super successful this season. He's always been successful throughout his career, but I've said this before, Blake Snell actually has fluctuated throughout his career from being fly ball, ground ball pitcher. This year, he had a pretty high ground ball percentage for himself, and he's continued that into the postseason, and obviously Yamamoto has as well. Just filthy stuff. You guys know I'm such a big Yamamoto fan, and I was really looking forward to him pitching good in this game because he didn't pitch too great against the Phillies. And I've always said that I think Yamamoto has the right stuff for the postseason, and I think he's quickly going to make a name for himself as the best big game pitcher in the game, kind of like Walker Buehler did when he was with the Dodgers. Yamamoto in this postseason in 2025, a 1.83 ERA, and in his postseason career, a 2.82 ERA, and that's in almost 40 innings pitched. So the numbers speak for themselves. He is a big-time postseason pitcher. But the last thing about Yamamoto was it's incredibly impressive on the mental side that he was able to not just pitch good after giving that home run, but go the entire game. I mean, giving up a leadoff homer like that on the first pitch is they always say it's like a punch in the mouth. It's like a rude welcome. As soon as that ball was hit, I could tell it was gone. Churio actually just hit a missile out to right field. But obviously the only run of the game against Yamamoto, it's just funny, if you're a Brewers fan in that moment, if you're a Dodger fan, there's no way that the first batter of the game hits a home run and you're thinking that's going to be the only run we score all day, all game. It's just funny how baseball is sometimes. But credit to Yamamoto that he got right back on the hill and just dominated, didn't let it affect him. He just did what you're supposed to do, honestly, give up a home run like that. And especially because Yamamoto had one of his worst starts of the year in Milwaukee earlier in this year, so I couldn't imagine what's going through his mind. Maybe he's thinking, oh, God, maybe I just can't pitch here, whatever it is. This team just has my number or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he just, was pounding the strike zone, only had one walk, and that came against the 9-hitter, Joey Ortiz, actually, which is a no-no, but, it didn't end up biting him. Obviously getting the strikeouts, swing and miss, and the ground balls, it was just a masterclass. One of the better pitching performances of all time. One of the better pitching performances in the last 20 years. Definitely in the 2020s and the last 10. Just it was amazing. It was really fun to watch. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of Yamamoto. So just for me personally, it was cool to see him on the mound. And just he's so poised out there. He was really confident, and you could tell he's really enjoying the moment. So. Amazing stuff from Yamamoto. And the final thing when it comes to just the Dodgers pitching overall, Dodgers starters have pitched 71.2% of the postseason innings in 2025. I said it to you guys before the postseason started. The Dodgers were going to have to get creative. They were going to have to use guys out of the pen who were maybe starters. They were going to have to do a lot of different things if they wanted to repeat. Here we are. They are now 6 wins away from repeating. And they actually haven't even gotten as creative as I thought they might have, because so far, like I said, 71.2% of the innings in this postseason have been pitched by Dodger starters. So the Dodgers and Dave Roberts said, to hell with the bullpen. Let's just lean on this ridiculous starting rotation. And it's just everything has come to the forefront. Everything has gone as planned so far. With all the injuries early in the year with the starting rotation, the Dodgers didn't panic, slow played it. They said, let's get all 4 or 5 guys healthy, ready for October. After early May, when Sasaki, Glasnow, and Snell were all on the injured list, we really had no idea what we were in store when it came to the season, the trade deadline, and just what was the October going to look like. At that point, we hadn't seen Shohei pitch yet. It was really just Yamamoto, and hopefully someone can come back. And here we are. Shohei has pitched and made his first postseason appearance in his career, and we're going to see him pitch again in a couple days. Glasnow finally is healthy. We're going to see him make his second start. And then obviously Snell and Yamamoto are looking like Shaq and Kobe. It's amazing. They look like Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson right now. Just an incredible 1-2 punch. A year ago, the Dodgers had to lean on their bullpen because they had like 2.5 starters to win the World Series. And here we are. It's the complete opposite. They're leaning completely on the starting staff, just something you don't see nowadays. It's always a race to the bullpen. It's always, give us 4 innings and we'll take that and we'll get the pen in there. Right now, it's you got to go 6. We're expecting 6, and we would love 7 or 8. And it's just amazing. The rotation has stepped up, and the Dodgers paid a lot of money and put a lot of chips into this rotation to go back to, to win a couple World Series, because they put, money into the rotation a year ago when they brought in Yamamoto and Glasnow. But they doubled down after winning the World Series, bringing in Snell and Sasaki, and we're seeing all those guys now, including Shohei, that he's healthy, and it's paying off big time. They look so dominant right now that even with Snell and Yamamoto going games 1 and 2, guess what? If you're the Brewers, Pat Murphy has been talking a lot about how, thank God, game 2, we're so happy that we don't have to see Snell. And then now he's saying, oh, well, Yamamoto absolutely carved us up. Guess what? Now you're going to have to face Tyler Glasnow. And then after that, you're going to have to face Shohei Ohtani. It doesn't get any easier because this rotation just doesn't let up. Quickly, I just also wanted to talk about the offense. They did not completely break out in this game like I thought I would, but they did put together a lot of good at-bats. 11 hits in this game. Shohei had 1 hit, which was cool. Freddie had a double later in the game, as well as Will Smith. Muncy, obviously, the home run. Teoscar had 2 hits, including a solo home run. And then a couple other guys. Tommy Edman, 2 hits, including a double. Kike Hernandez, 2 more hits, including a double, and just starting multiple rallies. He's just unbelievable. And then obviously Andy Paz had that big double. They still did leave runners on base. The Dodgers were 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Again, the Brewers are always well positioned. They have hit a few hard hit balls, for outs. I think they're so close to really breaking out and really putting on a clinic, especially, with Shohei being really cold the last few games. And then so far in this series, Mookie Betts actually hasn't done a whole lot. And then it's really been a lot of Kike, Teoscar, obviously Max Muncy's chipped in, Tommy Edman. So they are so close. If guys like Andy Paz at the bottom of the order and then obviously Shohei at the top start to heat up, opposing teams are in trouble, because the Dodgers right now are 7-1, I think, this postseason. Right, 2 wins against the Reds, 3 against the Phillies, that's 5, and then 2 against the Brewers. Yeah, 7-1. And so far, Shohei has 2 hits, which are both singles in the last 2 rounds, ever since they played the Reds, where he obviously hit a few home runs. I think they are on the precipice of really breaking out, and a couple guys are gonna put up some big performances, including, I think, Shohei. We'll see who the Brewers pitch in Game 3. It looks like it's either going to be Jose Quintana or some form of an opener bullpen game. And I'm sure the Dodgers are going to get to finally see Jacob Misiorowski. I would imagine he plays a huge role in Game 3. So I like where the offense is at. It's looked better in this Brewers series, especially going back to the last 2 games in the Philly series where they were pretty cold. They've looked a lot better in the series. I think Shohei's going to finally break out. Mookie so far hasn't done a whole lot in this series so far in the first 2 games, but he still has an OPS in the mid-800s in this postseason so far. So far, Tommy Edman and Kike Hernandez. Kike Hernandez, we already knew this, but Tommy Edman and Teoscar Hernandez are just proving to be postseason risers. I mean, Tommy Edman has another year where an OPS is in the 800s, and then Teoscar Hernandez is actually the only guy in the Dodgers who has an OPS over 1,000. So, you're going to get a lot of crazy stuff with Teoscar, but one thing is that he's going to come up with some big hits and some big homers. Got them right back into the game. Yeah, that's pretty much on the offense. I like where they're at right now, and I think we're going to really see them break out in the next couple games. Looking ahead, Game 3, we know Tyler Glasnow is going to pitch. He's going to get his second start of the postseason, his 3rd appearance, because he did come out of the bullpen once. Tyler Glasnow has seen the Brewers twice this year, actually right when he came off the injured list in July. 11 innings pitched, 1 earned run with 11 strikeouts against the Brewers this year. So he's pitched really well against the Brewers this year. So I like that. I think he's going to continue to pitch good. Again, he definitely will not go as deep as Snell and Yamamoto. I think the best you could see from Tyler Glasnow is 7 innings, and he would have to be very efficient for that. I think you're hoping for, just like he did against the Phillies a week ago, 6 innings. 6 innings, and then we will see, Sheehan, Banda, Vesia, and then we'll probably see Sasaki again if it's a save opportunity. But obviously Yamamoto was huge in this game because he was able to keep the pen rested. So Sasaki got an extra day of rest, which he was already going to be rested. But Treinen, like I said, and then obviously we haven't seen Vesia or Banda or Sheehan in this series. So Dave Roberts is going to have the choice if he wants to unload the pen. But I think he really is loving where this rotation is at. It's still not going to be a race to the pen. I don't think it's going to be a scenario like that. If Glasnow is cooking, he's going to leave him in there. And I think it's going to be, another 6-inning start, unless he's super efficient and, of course he'll let him go deeper. But I think it'll be a nice 6-inning start like we saw against the Phillies. That's pretty much it. All my thoughts. Pretty quick pod. Dodgers are in a great spot. I said this, two things that I've said in previous podcasts, and then we'll close out. I said to you guys after game 1 of the National League Division Series, obviously it's a shorter series, right? 5 games. When they won that first game, I came on here and I said, now the Dodgers can do everything in their power to win game 2, go up 2-0. And if you go up 2-0 in a 5-game series, you're pretty much putting the kill shot on the Phillies. Obviously the series wasn't over. The Phillies did win game 3, but you win the first 2 games, you go up 2-0 in a 5-game series. You would have to lose 3 in a row to lose the series. You feel pretty good that you're going to win. Now that's not the case in this series because it's a 7-game series. But I think that now the Dodgers are in a similar scenario where they could put all their chips in to win game 3. You go up 3-0 in a 7-game series. You feel like you just gave the Brewers the headshot, the kill shot, because I don't think the Brewers are going to come back from down 0-3 if you're able to win this game. So similarly, it was the first 2 games in Philly in a 5-game series, and now it's the first 3 games in a 7-game series. If they can win this game, go up 3-0, kill shot. I think, the Brewers know they can't come back and beat the Dodgers. The Dodgers feel pretty confident. Obviously, you still got to go out there and finish it off. The Brewers could win game 4, force a game 5, yada, yada, yada. But you win this game. Glasnow gives you a good start. The offense shows up like I think they will. And they put up some runs off of Quintana or whoever it is they face. They've seen all these guys in the pen so far. The only guy they haven't seen is Mizorowski. We get a couple Shohei homers, Mookie extra base hits, another Teoscar homer, put up some runs, put this game to bed. You can put the series to bed very quickly if you go up 3-0. And so this is an important game for the Dodgers to not let their foot off the gas. You go up 3-0, you feel pretty confident like you did after the first 2 games in Philly that you're going to win the series. So this is an important game. And then lastly, I told you guys before this series in the series preview about the Brewers and the Dodgers. I said to you guys, I thought the way it was going to play out in the Dodgers' favor was that the Dodgers' elite starting pitching was going to be able to quiet the Brewers' bats. I said to you guys how the Brewers are a little bit of an interesting team. They had a lot of success in the regular season and then their first series against the Cubs, but they are a team that doesn't hit a lot of home runs. They rely on contact. Obviously, putting the ball in play, not striking out. They have a lot of guys who don't do that. And in these first 2 games, they struck out a total of 17 times. Or I think it's actually more than that. I think it is 18 or 19 because it was 10 by Snell, 7 by Yamamoto. But then we saw a Blake Treinen strike out. So I think it's actually 18 strikeouts for the Brewers in 2 games. And I told you guys, I thought that that's how the Dodgers were going to win, is that the Brewers were not going to be able to do some of the things offensively that they're used to, because if you're not going to hit the ball out of the ballpark and have those game-changing swings against elite starting pitching, you're not stringing rallies together. And how many at-bats have the Brewers had with runners in scoring position in this series? Not many. I mean, the only runner that got on base against Blake Snell was Caleb Durbin on that single, and he was immediately wiped off the bases by getting picked off. And then Yamamoto gave up that home run, and then there was only a few guys who even got to second base. So they have not put together rallies because they have not been able to deal with this starting rotation. It's played out exactly like I thought. And so far, the Dodgers have hit more home runs than the Brewers because we saw Freddie Freeman go deep, we've seen Max Muncy go deep, we've seen Teoscar Hernandez go deep, and obviously the Brewers have only hit one home run. So far, it has played out a little bit like I said, so you guys are welcome. So we'll see how the rest of it goes. They could have a pretty decent game plan against Glasnow. Same stuff applies as did a week ago to Glasnow. You got to look for early on his command in the strike zone. He had pretty good command against the Phillies, but he's the kind of guy that the command can go like that. That's why the good thing is that Dave will have a rested pen if he needs it. You know that his mindset and his approach is kind of flipped from a year ago, where he's leaving those guys out there because of how good they're pitching. But obviously with Glasnow, it could kind of flip at any moment. So we'll see how it plays out. Thank you guys for listening. I know it was a quick pod, but I kind of had a long day. And obviously Yamamoto kind of didn't give us a ton to talk about. It was just Yamamoto pitched great. The Dodgers got a couple of home runs, a couple of hits with runners in scoring position. And let's go back to LA up 2-0. So I'll get back on here to recap Game 3. It might be similarly the following day, later in the day because of my schedule, but I will try to get on here and recap that game. Hopefully the Dodgers can go up 3-0. So as always, guys, thank you for listening. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow us. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick on X. Like I said, Talking Blue Pod on all social media, and then you can follow us on Reddit as well at competitive-week8715. Thank you guys so much for listening. The Dodgers have a 2-0 lead. The Dodgers have a 2-0 lead in the National League Championship Series. They are 2 wins away from going back to the World Series. Let's see what happens in Game 3. Tyler Glasnow will be taking on the Brewers for the 3rd time this year, so we'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back to recap Game 3. Good luck, everybody.